We are here at the Shippo Academy still and back to almost the same place where we started. This is where we usually have yoga every Saturday and Sunday. This is going to be the eighth and the last segment where I will show you a routine for just a particular muscle group. Please, if you haven't, go back and watch the other segments just so that you understand what I'm talking about and why my routine has the sequence as it has. So the first thing, of course, we are always going to warm up the joints. Today I will show you how to stretch the calf muscles, so just above the ankles. And this is why I'm going to stretch just the legs. So we usually say that we need about 6 rotations in order to start the synovial fluid running in the joints so that it lathers, it gives the lubrication when the joints are moving. Of course, when we are stretching the calves, the whole leg from the hip is going to be involved, although we are not going to stretch the hip joint. So the first thing we're going to do is the pandiculation. So this is the gentle stretch, and here I'm doing the palm tree, which is something we regularly do in a yoga class as well. Up with the inhale and down with the exhale. And then of course you can also do the half wheel as well. Then I'm doing the irregular movement, you can call it a skeleton dance, for about 1 minute. It should be enough, half a minute even, depends on what you have done before. So move irregularly, gently, not abruptly. The next kind of stretch is going to be the active stretch, the stretch where we do involve the muscle. So there is a muscle contraction. We are just staying in the same position. We're not moving, but the muscles are active and engaged in order to stabilize the whole posture. So this is the Ashwasana, the horse. If your knees don't allow this much mobility, just make sure that the knee is somewhere above the foot, ideally above the heel to protect it. If your knees are very flexible and not painful, then you can just go ahead and do it the way I did. One other nice active stretch is the dog, downward facing dog. Please, if you're a beginner, let your gaze be between your hands. If you feel comfortable with engaging the shoulders, you can also have your head in the same line as the arms. And then from the dog, we're going to go into the high plank, just to make sure that the shoulders and the core is also working at the same time as the glutes. And you can see here the calves are really nicely stretched in the high plank. A little bit of rest before we actually go into the dynamic stretch. So the dynamic here, I chose the same two, from the high plank into the dog and back. 3-4 times should be enough. And you can see I'm not doing any sudden jolts or moves. I'm not pushing or pulling anything. And then I'm doing the Padhastasana, which is the hand to toe or toe to hand. So in this variation, because I can, I put the hand under the foot, raising the front side of the foot. So here, this is still probably a little bit active, although it is kind of a passive stretch. I'm not actually using the muscles of the calf to to hold myself, like for example in the horse or in the dog or in the plank. I'm not using them to actually hold me up. I'm kind of just hanging in there and not engaging the muscles. And of course, relaxing. And now I'm going to be, at the same time as I'm stretching, I'm going to press into, I'm now pressing into the hand downwards towards the ground, which then makes it an isometric stretch. So the calf muscle is stretched, but then I'm actually resisting and then pressing down. So I am activating that muscle in the isometric in the same position. So the muscle is not really moving, it's just applying the force onto the surface, which in this case is my hand. And don't worry, if you cannot do this, you can also use the strap. So in the same way, while I'm pulling on the strap, I want to push the toes or the ball down. But in this way, after the activation of the muscle, you can see that I'm pulling upwards with the strap, which now makes it a PNF. So I'm combining the isometric with the passive. And if you are afraid that your spine is going to suffer for this, you can always go down to the ground. Then ideally keep the spine straight and pull the strap towards you. This and now I'm pulling against, and now I'm doing the passive stretch, and now isometric. So now I'm doing the PNF. So combining the passive and isometric. Isometric means engaging the muscles when the muscle is stretched, and passive means I'm just pulling the muscle into the stretch with the outward force. So to me, this feels more comfortable when I lean forward. Also, I'm pushing downwards to get the isometric. In between the two isometric stretches, I was pulling towards me in order to make it passive. And then, of course, the skin rolling, which ideally should be towards the heart, but you see, when you do it to yourself, it's kind of clunky. It's not very practical or easy to do. And now I'm moving actually the whole foot while I'm pulling on the skin. So I'm pinching the skin and I'm pulling in order to create even more space, not just from the skin rolling. Yeah, and this is just for the demonstration's sake. And then the myofascial release, which means pulling apart the layers of soft tissue, which is not normally done with the fingers but with the hands, but here I'm just kind of in the wrong side up. And then of course at the end, relax in Shavasana and do some micro movements, which you cannot see because they are imperceptible. See you in the next video.